The MCU is kind of in a standstill. The actual content of the productions in the MCU as of late have just not felt the same. It once was this ambitious project that brought us all to the theaters, racked in roughly $29.5 billion, and made every single major studio imagine how they can squeeze their IPs for a cinematic franchise. Feel how you want about the quality, I'm just saying there hasn't been this presence that connects anything to anything. It's like we've been given some puzzle pieces. No box to help show us the bigger picture, no edges to help orient us in any way, and no real clue how any of these connect. Each film in Phase 1 focused around a specific hero and how they relate to the rest of the world. A little sprinkling of S.H.I.E.L.D. connection between them all, and the end credits scene directly leading us into the next film until the Avengers. Phase 2 and 3 gave us sequels that added more context to the rest of the larger MCU, or broadly expanded the universe and how the cosmic and magical and nonsensical science sides of things work.
It's called the Pym particle.
Because of science or some bullshit.
And after 10 years of buildup of all the Infinity Stones, we finally got to see Thanos in his full glory. A threat so massive it required every single hero that was introduced to band together to take him on. Twice. And it was fantastic storytelling. Then theories spun all across the internet on what would come next. We got some puzzle pieces in WandaVision. Her kids were there and would eventually become Speed and Wiccan in the comics, and would later go on to the Young Avengers. Then there was White Vision, who could go on to form the West Coast Avengers. And Wanda is confirmed as finally using magic, so maybe she could team up with Doctor Strange, and she's a villain now, which contradicts the show unless you read too deeply into the show's post-credit scene, that she was corrupted by the book, though that's never expressly stated. Sorry, that always bothered me. But yeah, the puzzle pieces keep adding up. Charlie Cox's Daredevil and Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin are now in, so maybe we'll get the rest of the formerly Netflix Defenders? We got Moon Knight and Werewolf by Night, so now we have pieces for Midnight Suns. And that's not even getting into everyone who can make up the new lineup for the eventual new Avengers that take on Kang in Avengers 5. There's just many, many more puzzle pieces on the table. And now that we have all these pieces for all these potential teams, we don't even know what they're going to do with any of them. There isn't any real room for teams at the moment, and nothing's been announced. There's the Eternals, but they're either taken by a Celestial, depowered, dead, and it's just these three left. The Guardians disbanded at the end of Volume 3 with a James Gunn-less new crew that doesn't seem like they're going to be the focus of a film anytime soon. The Marvels are coming up next, but they're very specifically just these three, and Carol Danvers will probably fly off again afterwards. It's more of a team up rather than a team, if that makes sense. It's like Spider-Man teaming up with Spider-Man and Spider-Man. It's probably going to be nothing more than just a one-off movie. That leaves our only actual team films coming up being Fantastic Four, which is a team film, but not one that can really expand on the puzzle pieces already given. Same goes with the X-Men after whatever happens with Deadpool 3. And we do have the Thunderbolts, which comes out of left field and just feels like a mismatched group cobbled together because they're sort of reformed bad guys, I guess?
I expect nothing, and I'm still let down.
We're gonna have to wait and see. But there's still plenty of potential teams that could be made for a Disney Plus show, film, or even a quick special presentation. The most obvious team with the most complete roster already is actually the Young Avengers. They're basically what the name implies. The Avengers, but younger. They're mostly made up of legacy characters that took on the mantle after their mentor passed it to them. Wiccan and Speed from WandaVision. Eli Bradley becomes Patriot. Cassie Lang becomes Stinger, she has a lot of names. And then there's America Chavez, Kid Loki, maybe Kate Bishop. And all we're missing is Hulkling, who isn't the Hulk's son? It's complicated. An Iron Lad, who's actually a younger version of Kang, so yeah. I can say with a degree of certainty that we're probably gonna get them because it's like the only actual thing built up in the multiverse saga. They're not to be confused with the Champions, though. The Young Avengers have teenagers, but are mostly young adults. The Champions, though, are a group of just kid heroes that broke away because they felt they could be doing more to actually help people instead of just fighting the big bad. We already have Miss Marvel, Ironheart, and technically Silk in the MCU. We might also get Sam Alexander's Nova in the Nova series, and Miles Morales' Spider-Man and the MCU rumors have always been floating around, and maybe a time-traveling kid version of Cyclops in Deadpool 3. And maybe eventually Amadeus Cho. The only problem is Joaquin Torres, who is a key member in the Champions, who takes on the mantle of Falcon when Sam Wilson becomes Captain America, but he's already a first lieutenant in the Air Force. Honestly, I think Marvel's just gonna mash the groups together anyways, but they are two different teams with two different purposes. I'm just saying. Another surprisingly nearly complete team is Excalibur. the sort of British version of the Avengers. We got Black Knight, Sonya Falsworth, and references to Agent Braddock in Endgame, who is Captain Britain. Then there's all the other heroes who are based out of London, like Blade, Moon Knight, Scarlet Scarab, and now Gaia. Are they the most interesting team? Not really. They're not even the most interesting team who used most of those characters. Black Knight, Moon Knight, and Blade could team up with Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, and Elsa Bloodstone, who are already in the MCU, and make up the Midnight Suns. All they really need is at least one Ghost Rider to be the leader, and a magic user like Wong, Doctor Strange, or Wanda, who've been in the teams in the comics and are obviously in the MCU. Although, I think they should go in another direction. I think they should go with Agatha to fill in that role. And if she were to join the team, that would make a constant theme of every member being cursed with their abilities. I mean, the team would be a mummy, a vampire, a werewolf, a witch, a monster, a skeleton, and some demon hunters. Then there's the West Coast Avengers that could use everyone that's currently in California, like Shang-Chi, She-Hulk, Ant-Man, Wasp, and the upcoming Wonder Man series. Then just bring over the retired Hawkeye, Mockingbird, and White Vision, and War Machine, and he basically got the whole lineup. The only key member missing is Tigra, but there really isn't a need for a dedicated B team when there isn't even an A team. More on that in a bit. We also got the Great Lake Avengers, Mr. Immortal, and She-Hulk, but that's the only bit that we ever saw from them, and I mean the only character fans even know was Squirrel Girl. I could see them being brought in, just hiding in the background with nothing more than a cameo. Next in our less likely, but still more built up than the Thunderbolts category, we have God Squad. Thor, Hercules, any of the Eternals, any of the remaining Asgardians, and any of the Egyptian gods who finally want to get involved, or just any of the other gods that were hinted at in Thor Love and Thunder could appear. All we really need is just Silver Surfer, Snowbird, and Amadeus Cho for some reason to round out the group. I just don't feel like there'd be any story for them. And they only existed in the comics for 3 years before they're completely forgotten. I also don't think that they're going to go with another version of the Illuminati, since Multiverse of Madness kind of set them up as a this is only in this particular universe kind of a thing. And I mean, the roster is made up of Iron Man and Black Panther, who are dead in the MCU. Black Bolt, Beast, Mr. Fantastic, and Professor X aren't even in this universe yet. I just don't see this version of Namor and Doctor Strange randomly deciding to work together. Which brings us to the Avengers lineup moving forward. Do you think that the MCU's premier superhero team, namesake for 4 of the 5 highest grossing Marvel films, would actually have any sort of build-up? But no. We don't even know if the Avengers are still a team in the MCU. We're at 21 different MCU projects since Endgame without a single definitive confirmation that there even still is an Avengers at all. For context, the 21st Marvel film was Captain Marvel, which came out just a month before Endgame. There's the end credits scene of Shang-Chi, where we see Bruce Banner, Carol, and Wong ponder the nature of Shang-Chi's 10 rings before Bruce gives Shang a "welcome to the circus," which could be inferred that Bruce is inviting him to the Avengers, but that doesn't make sense. Bruce is retired, Wong was never an Avenger, and Carol has always been a solo act. Anyone who was in this Zoom call or the one in Endgame aren't exactly confirmed to be Avengers. They could just be heroes pulling resources together to help everyone out. Or you could look at it like everyone who joined the Battle of Endgame is technically deputized members of the Avengers. It's kind of an all or nothing kind of a deal. So when looking at the new Avengers lineup, I think they should just stick with 6. It's much easier to manage, doesn't make the film seem bloated or too randomly assembled, and the audience doesn't have to do as much homework before seeing the film. The team needs someone to not necessarily take up the mantles of the old hero, but more of the utility that they brought to the team, because the OG lineup is done. Natasha and Tony are dead, Steve, Bruce, and Clint are retired, and if I'm being honest, I don't think Thor is coming back anytime soon, since Chris Hemsworth is stepping away from Hollywood to be with his family after a health scare, which leaves just Bruce as an advisory role if anything. The only characters I feel are certain to show up are Sam Wilson and the new leadership role of Captain America, She-Hulk taking on her cousin's Bruiser role, and Shang-Chi filling the same hand-to-hand fighter function that Black Widow had. And Captain Marvel could easily come in to take Thor's overpowered carry spot. Ant-Man could fill in for Hawkeye's reliable support character, because Scott is the only one with ties to what's going on to the upcoming Kang Dynasty. Kate Bishop may be the new Hawkeye, but like I said, we need someone to fill the utility, not just the mantle, because she's definitely not ready to fight Kang. Although you could beat him with ants, so he's not that terrifying. But I honestly think it could be Star-Lord. He's back on Earth and is just as resourceful in a fight, if not more, having proven himself by beating someone with a Power Stone, a Celestial, and even Iron Man. All that for just a regular dude, which leaves us with the most important position of who's going to step into Iron Man's shoes. It's not just the role or utility of Iron Man, but the face that brings everyone together. Pepper as rescue seems like it may have been a one-time thing. Rhodey has been there since the beginning, but with Secret Invasion's reveal that he's been a Skrull since Civil War, which was just after his back was broken, we don't know if the character is physically able to be a superhero anymore. Ironheart takes up the mantle in the comic books, but she's still just a teenager and hasn't been shown to be at an Avengers level yet. Perfect to join the young Avengers of Champions, just not the A-Team. Which leaves us with Shuri's Black Panther, who could definitely be the extremely rich tech genius on the team. But the perfect fit to round out the team and would have the most emotional weight is the character that could be the face of Marvel again, Spider-Man. Think about it. The superhero that had the closest connection to Tony was taught to be a hero by him and was given everything by him. Then after Tony's death, Peter slowly lost it all, and even with all that convoluted nonsense with the identity forgetting spell, could easily be forgotten if we just got one emotional scene. Imagine, Peter Parker goes to the new Avengers. All of them except Sam are completely new and have no idea on how the Avengers operate. But Peter knows that nobody will believe him, but he actually does know how the Avengers are supposed to be and what they can eventually become later. Because I believe it should be Peter who continues on as Tony's heart. That is if Sony still wants to play ball with Disney. But what do you guys think? Which team up interests you guys the most? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoyed today's video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more weekly content on comic books and nerd stuff. I've been Eric, and you've been awesome.